this whole idea of spirituality and spiritual awakening. I believe, which I think we all believe, that we are spiritual. Yes, we have flesh. Yes, we have muscles, we have tissue, we have hair, we have nails, we have all these physical things, right? But we are actual spiritual beings. And if we were spiritual beings, we would be electromagnetical impulses, we will be matter, we will be chain reaction of, atoms and neutrons, and we just kind of be like this AI robotic, robot type thing. That would be us. But inside of us, there's a soul, there's a spirituality. So I was trying to think. We're spiritual beings. So the world, when I say the world, I mean just society in general. All right, they understand that we are in what a lot of people think a mental health crisis. All right. Illinois was the first state to pass a bill that is going to be required to have mental health screenings for students from 3rd to 12th grade, starting in 2027. So if you did any bit of research, hey, if you have friends that may work in therapy or counseling in the school system, you hear it all over. Our schools for 10 years, there's mental health issues, especially among teens, especially among adolescents, and especially it's gotten even worse since the introduction of social media. That's just the stats and the research. I propose that we're living not only in a mental health crisis, but it's also a spiritual crisis. And I mentioned this last Sunday, and I'll mention it again, and you can just think about what you think, okay? So there's one author, person, he said that we live in a disrupted world. I mentioned this last Sunday. And he was saying that when you look at our world, it's kind of strangely disoriented. And he mentioned that there's kind of these two opposing forces working in the world. That's how he broke it down. One is disintegrating, and the other one is integrative. So when you look at the world and you see things that we prayed about today, and this boggles my mind. I studied history in college. I think it's so fascinating. I studied political ideology, political science, public policy. Super fascinating. But it boggles my mind, to me, that we can create artificial intelligence. If you be on ChatGPT and you put a question on there and boom, it doesn't take like a nanosecond. Look at this essay, just whoa. How can we make that? There's a Falcon Star space rocket that can take off and land and go to Mars. I'm like, to me, that's mind-boggling. That's so impressive. Cars that go 300 miles an hour and they don't fly. Wow. Planes. I know some here in surgery. They have robotic surgery. Jessica learning robotic surgery. I'm like, to me, that's amazing. Nuclear fusion. Quantum physics, and yet we're just bombing each other. There's still wars. They're figure out how to work together, how to just, okay, you're a little different, that's okay. I'll forgive you. Like we create this, and still most of the world's population live on less than $1 a day. Most people on the planet are poor. Like, to me, that's like mind-boggling. And that is, when I hear that, that's strangely disoriented. There's something is off with that picture. And the amount of people that are getting divorces, for example. So when you go out in the world, all right, this is, again, this is just from some secular author. This is what he said. When you go out in the world, what do you see? And I thought this was so good. Countless frenzied people rushing around staring at their phones. I want you to be aware, when you go down the highway on the road, just look at people, how many people are on their phones, driving, going to work. Like, people are just like frenzied. And I want you to just, if you can take a moment, just go in the corner sometimes, just observe people, and like, what do you sense? What's the energy like? What's going on in them? Maybe someone's being rude. Maybe someone's being judgmental. Maybe someone is being self-centered. there's conflict, there's anxiety, there's rage. Things is not going as planned. People behaving badly, there's hatred, there's racism, there's suffering, there's rejection, there's disappointments, right? This is all part of our world. And we understand from the Bible, right? God created the world to be good. He gave us free will, which is pretty awesome. But with that free will, we decided to make a choice, or our ancestors did, I believe, which led to the fall, right? So that's why we have these things in the world. The point is, that I'm trying to make is, there is a spiritual crisis going on. And Father Pierre de Chardin, je parle français, he said this: we are not human beings having a spiritual experience. We are spiritual beings having a human experience. I think a lot of people, including myself, will wake up just thinking physical, just kind of physical. If I pray from my Bible, yes, it shifts my mind, but the most of the external stimuli coming my way from the world is usually physical, matter, not spiritual. And one person said, it is difficult to get the news from poems. Yet men die miserably every day for lack of what is found there. So this author was saying that it's difficult to get your news from poems. Yet every day people die for lack of what's found there. I don't read much poetry. Some understand, some I don't. If I understand, I usually decide I don't get it. This is too deep and complicated. And then the author, he inserted spirituality instead of poems. So it's difficult to get your news from spirituality. Yet every day people die because of lack of it. So if you think about deep spiritual things, it takes a little bit of thinking, right? Like it's not all easy. Like obviously some of the things here is not that easy. Right. It's written 2,000 years ago. I got to get the like it's not that easy. It's easier to go on my phone just like, ha ha ha, look at that. That was funny. Much easier. Yeah. But there's truth in spirituality. And that's where things that really matters. What's important, what gives meaning is in spirituality. And of course, for us as Christians, we find that in the scriptures. But again, we are spiritual beings. I think, again, if you ask someone, most will probably not say we're not just flesh. Some people believe we're just that. We're just flesh, right? Matter. But many people say, we understand that, hey, we have an emotional aspect, we have a social aspect, we have a mental aspect, and many people agree that we have a spiritual aspect. Even the idea of consciousness. I was talking to Lisa, she wanted to study neuroscience. And I said, that's really fascinating because I'm going to talk about something today. And they say consciousness, this is what neuroscientists says, okay? Neuroscientists became studied like in the 1980s-ish. They say consciousness is the last of human frontiers that we're trying to understand. They still can't really understand consciousness. If I gave you a piece of paper, can you write a nice paragraph to explain to my dog what consciousness is? That's not that easy. For someone who doesn't believe in God, consciousness is just a reaction, chemical reaction. Like you play tennis, something's going on in your neurological wiring, and then you have an experience. You eat a cookie, oh, you have an experience. Like it's just something happening. But consciousness is deeper, but people are still trying to figure what is consciousness. My point is, I believe we have a consciousness. And it points to this fact that we're not this robot, this AI robot. We are spiritual beings. That's just one argument, the fact that we are spiritual beings. There's another doctor, she wrote a book called The Awakened Brain. She did a ton of research. And she's done brain scans. Now, one thing they found out was that we're hardwired for spiritual development. And if you have a spiritual or a religious experience, it helps boost all kinds of things you want to be part of your life. So for us, that's a very good thing. It reduces depression, it increases resilience, and all these other factors. For people that have spiritual experiences, they can do brain imaging, look at your brain, and compare these brain scans. We are hardwired for spiritual development.